Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. My name is Nabil, CEO and co-founder here at Lunchbox. I'll be your host for the day. I'm absolutely not needed because we have such an incredible panel, but here I am. We have some amazing folks, and we have an incredible topic. We're going to talk about all things catering. We'll talk about the trends we've seen. We'll talk about the future of it and how do we continue to build a successful enterprise catering business. So really pumped. Thank you for being with us today. And with that being said, let's go introduce the talent, the roster we have here for you today. All right, let's go from left to right. We have Karen Stutz, one of my new besties. Amy Hom, Karen and I are best friends. Three different generation, not a big deal. We just get along. Something clicks. Karen, would love for you to intro yourself.
Oh, great. Hey, I'm the grandmother of the generations. And honest to God, if you're not there yet, it's the best title in the world. I'll start with that. Most recently, I was at Native Foods as a CEO, currently board director at Kura Sushi and Hawaiian Bros. I learned everything about catering from a couple of people, two that are on this call, Earl and Mo, who have been wonderful mentors for me to learn it. But a lot of times you learn it from the people in the field. This young man named Taylor Matthews, who used to be a team member selling more catering for McAllister's Deli than anyone, was just brilliant and taught me that no matter what you learn, it is always about relationships.
Karen, thank you for being with us. And if I hear a humble intro, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to have to interrupt. But Karen, you've been on with some of the biggest brands out there, Checkers and Applebee's and others. Can we hear a little bit for the 2-3 people who have not seen your prolific career like all of us have here?
Well, thank you. You're very kind. Look, I grew up in operations and have followed the growth. Started out in quick service, McDonald's through high school, then really out of college, went to Wendy's and worked my way up the career path, then moved into really in the early, 2000s when casual dining was growing. So with Applebee's and Brinker and Red Robin. And then I jumped into fast casual with Cozy. We were just doing a ton of catering in New York, an urban brand, obviously. McAllister's Deli, huge amount of catering platforms as well. So what a blessed career I've had. Thank you very much, Nabil. You're very kind.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Mo, would love to hear your story from a Monkey Software to Easy Cater and now working with your son.
Yes, thank you, Nabil. It's great to be here. Hello, everyone. Obviously, we can't see everyone out there, but it's great to be back on this webinar talking about catering and about restaurants. Karen, great shout out to Taylor. I'm a huge fan of that guy. Worked with him side by side and also have had a couple of glasses of wine with him. So, Taylor, if you're watching,
glasses?
Hello.
On average?
Too many to count.
Too many. The audience wants to know.
Anyway, thank you. So Mo is Gary. I think really my career in the restaurant industry started with Earl 15 years ago when I joined him at Monkey Media Software to help evolve and revolutionize off-premises in the restaurant industry. Our whole focus was on takeout delivery catering. Of course, with Earl's great background at his restaurant deli, we specialize in catering and ended up having more impact in the industry on catering than anything else, but involved in restaurant technology for all those years and very fortunate we were able to partner up or sell our business to Easy Cater. And then I ended up being with Easy Cater nearly 4 years. Great experience, great crew. And that essentially finalized earlier this year in February, and a great opportunity came up with my son to start a new business. So I'm currently president at Bite Leap Software, and we're in the iGaming industry. And I'm trying to keep as many toes as I can in the restaurant industry and helping young up-and-coming entrepreneurs and technology companies, restaurants in any way, shape, or form I can. So thank you for having me here. I'm excited about the conversation.
Thank you. Tracy, you bring an awesome perspective. You're working with so many different brands as the chief sales officer at New Catering Connections, and you're really seeing patterns, and you get to go ahead and really advise these amazing brands you're working with. Would love your intro a little bit. I know you've worked with Earl and Mo in the past as well.
Yes. And just like everyone else, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of a conversation with some of my favorite people. It's always a good
like
time.
More Earl or Mo? And you don't have to answer. You can.
I love them all equally the same.
Understood.
My journey with catering really began about 25 years ago. I was with a Boston Market for about 10 years doing local, regional, and then ended doing the national catering sales for the brand really back in their heyday. And it was just a wonderful experience as catering was really becoming big. And then I had the honor of working with Mo and Earl for another 10 years or so in the Catering Institute, the other part of Monkey Media, where we worked with countless brands on helping them strategically develop their catering programs. And I loved spending a ton of my time traveling the country, teaching brands and teams how to sell catering in their local communities. And then this year was able to partner up with a colleague of mine to launch New Catering Connections. It's been an amazing journey this year where, again, our goal is to support restaurants and driving catering sales. And so, our program provides fractional catering sales manager support for restaurants to help them drive that business.
Yeah. Tracy, let's go ahead and introduce the man himself now, Earl. Earl, I feel like I call him the godfather of catering. I don't know if he likes it or not. I've never really asked him. He's our chief strategy officer, founder of Monkey Media, and a mentor, a friend. Earl, would love for your intro, sir.
Thank you. Earl Dardick is my name. I'm 27 years working in food service and restaurants. All began around my story as a deli operator. Catering I used as a strategy to fix the deli. I built some software around my catering operation and ended up pivoting into the software business in food service and spent the bulk of my career there. I joined Lunchbox after exiting with Monkey Media Software. ezCater acquired us. And I came because Nabil and I spent some time really getting to know each other. And I had a good look in terms of the tech stack that's behind Lunchbox and believe that it's a great opportunity for our industry to understand what's happening there. And then today, I hope that the conversation is just going to be about catering. It's just like, hey, what is happening? I'm really looking forward to the conversation today.
Thank you so much, Earl, and everyone here for being with us. I'm going to chug right along to the conversation, to the substance of the matter. We have a packed agenda. I'll not spend too much time here, but we'll talk about trends. We'll talk about the last few years, the next few years, what we're predicting, the trends we're seeing among consumers, tech trends, the digital landscape itself. Obviously, that's what Lunchbox does. And just, all things catering. We did a prep and it was so meaningful. I had to tell our panelists, stop it, save it for when we go live. So with that being said, let's kick it off on this slide. I was looking at the slide and it's just the bar. It's exactly what we want, a segment of our business to go upwards to the right. And catering is that big opportunity. It might not be dine-in. Delivery might have plateaued as well now after COVID, but catering is still a low-hanging fruit and a huge, revenue generator for our business. You have had this amazing career, and from your tech lens, you've seen it from as a first-party company with Monkeysoft. You've seen it from ezCater as a third-party company. Tell us about 2020, 2021, what have you seen? What are the patterns you have seen that we should all, as we look back, that we can learn from?
Well, really, I think the biggest pattern that we saw, no one ever thought that this would happen, but when COVID hit, it essentially decimated B2B catering or business catering. And I'm going to reference it, certainly pre-COVID, catering, office catering, farmer rep catering, that was the big push. And when COVID happened, of course, the white collar office catering disappeared. And innovative thinking and innovation in anything really happens during a time of stress. And I think that from an industry perspective, while we all took a knee, it allowed us to sort of relook and see what opportunities exist. I think what COVID taught us is that there's more to business catering, and I'm leaving out social catering outside of it, but business to business catering, there's more to it than office catering. It opened everyone's eyes that people go to work in many, many industries. For example, general medical, manufacturing, retail, construction. There's many people that go to work to those types of industries and they need to eat. So from that perspective, it taught us to sort of maybe expand our reach outside of just office catering to those specific industries. Of course, it changed our behavior in terms of how we execute and distribute catering. For example, individualized portions. For a while, we had to get rid of, we couldn't serve buffets and platters. But of course, all of that is coming back. But the biggest trend that happened is that because people started to go to work differently and the patterns changed, it really created the evolution of food at work and how we can get creative with technology and how we serve our experiences to serve this new way of people eating at work. Of course, our standard catering, as we know it, has also come back, thankfully. But I think the new term of food at work, and I was sort of front lines with ezCater, kudos to them, great minds that really saw this coming and were able to shift and create the experiences that consumers were looking for.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, employees need to come to the offices so they can actually bond with each other. What better way to bond than the office or the company serve food, right? And so the
Yeah.
opposite happened, which is we thought it was going to completely die out, but we saw it have its second wind. And I mean, that's just so we're lucky as an industry to have that rebound and have all that investment in tech again.
Absolutely. And I think
even with the food at work, it's showing that employees are more productive when they're there, and the camaraderie and the engagement with one another has improved out of something that initially we thought of as a negative.
And businesses are, Nabil, to your point, companies are using food as a way to get people in from a social perspective, but really post-COVID, one of the other biggest factors was around security. So if they brought food to the offices, it limited people having to go out and get food when they came into to work. So that was another piece of it, was to keep their employees safe, but also use food as a way to get people in the office and socializing and interacting safely.
Yeah. Let's stay with you, Tracy, for a little bit, right? You just said like corporate catering is on the rebound. Like if we go to the next slide, let's be a little bit more forward looking, right? How are you approaching corporate selling differently from pre-pandemic to today? Would love to walk how you have changed strategies as you're working with some of these amazing brands that you're assisting right now.
Yeah, catering has certainly changed, and we have to be able to adapt to those changes. Catering use cases being a big part of that. Again, with speaking just on the corporate catering side, catering's just not about the office meetings and the training sessions and the client events. It is all a big portion of that is ordering for employee incentives and benefits to get people to come into work, to retain them. It's being used as an incentive when hiring. And I think businesses are really leaning into that and saying that that's a rather cost-effective benefit versus some of the others that they can provide to employees, but it has such a high value perception for the employees within the businesses. And so really understanding the additional opportunities and how to sell to those. And I think people are becoming much more adventurous with food these days in, their social life, and that's bleeding over, I think, to the corporate dining table as well. And so, when it comes to selling catering, now there's so much more opportunity for all different kinds of brands and different niches and different types of food to be successful in this space. It's not just the, kind of the old school standard food items that we used to think of for catering. So, that's expanded. And the way we sell catering, it has changed as well, pre-pandemic to today. Pre-pandemic, catering was still largely done by a lot of catering sales manager teams, local feet on the street types of activities. And obviously that's changed for a lot of the same reasons that, delivery has. Not everybody's working in the offices. You don't have access to offices necessarily. And so a lot of things are turning into virtual outreach and selling and learning how to do that effectively.
Yeah, so much more intentional, as you've mentioned. Our oracles, Karen and Earl, no pressure. Any predictions for the future? And we will not hold you accountable. We will not have this on YouTube and look back if it's not exactly how you have predicted.
Yeah, I'll jump in first, and mine can only just be from the experiences that I'm seeing. So I kind of went through COVID with an urban brand, right? So my little chain there was a vegan chain. So a lot of my friends were in the deli business, right? Who were enjoying probably 40% of their sales from catering in, downtown Chicago, dropped to below 5. It's just brutal, right? When people don't come back to work. And I think they're all right. It seems like, boy, the days that people, like Wednesday is the new Friday, right? Everybody's at work. If you're in the office, it's typically Wednesday. And so we usually get most of our catering orders now on a Wednesday when that happens. So it's interesting, I know, because you're talking about, different events. I still think most of the growth is still going to come B2B. For those of us in the restaurant companies, we primarily focus on B2B. The B2C happens when a lot of times people see our brands for the first time in a boardroom, in a meeting room, and they're like, maybe I could do that for my kid's graduation. Maybe I could do that for my wedding, right? There's a lot of pressure there. But I think in some ways you forget that catering is one of your best advertisements to get your brand in the hands of a lot of people that have never, ever seen you before. And all of a sudden, it's going to be something they talk about at home and hopefully buy for one of their special events.
And somebody's paying you to do that advertising and marketing, which is even better.
Sure, Tracy.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. And just to jump in a bit here, Nabil, just in terms of what Karen is saying. So catering this is not new. We've been doing this for a long time already. But I mean, if we look to grocery, we look to convenience stores, we will see that is competition to the restaurant industry. And I mean, I was in Whole Foods yesterday and the catering is everywhere. So we have to become, I think the future of catering is going to be just another channel. The B2B channel is really where the lion's share is. If you look at the previous graph, the social catering business, which is the event-driven business, is also an opportunity, but it's a different business than a lot of what we're trying to talk about. And I think getting language and getting helping operators to understand the differences is essential. And ultimately, where it's all moving is into segmentation of markets. Yeah. And so the differentiation between menus and programs, less is more, that kind of thing. How do we interact with marketplace partners? These are all the questions that hopefully we get to talk about more today.
Absolutely. Let's stay with you, Earl, for a little bit. Let's go to the next slide. Consumers are opting into this. There's a group that wants to order from your site. They want to maybe feed their team. There's a group that's trying to cater their birthday and others. I don't think we are doing enough as an industry in terms of improving the packaging for catering. I think we've done so much innovation in small batches. I think we can do so much more here to listen to consumers. Would love for you to just touch on that a little bit on why this is a place where you should actually invest. And this is not a cost-cutting area. This is an investment area, and just other ways we can go ahead and listen to the consumers.
Right. Well, I think for operators, I mean, the battle for first-party transactions exists in every channel. So I think that's the first thing. I think one of the things that operators really need to understand is that in order to build and grow the B2B channel first-party, you actually have to invest in it. It's not a tech conversation, although technology is required in order to manage and service those transactions. But essentially, this is really about getting back into your communities and building relationships. It's one-on-one. I mean, Tracy, you've been doing this forever. I think a lot of those basics are true today. Not a lot of that has changed. The other piece of it is then how do you interact with third-party tech, third-party transactions? What is the strategy behind menu development? Okay, because operators are being bombarded with all kinds of channels today, and you have to fulfill all those orders. So if you step back and you look at a restaurant, you'll look at it as a manufacturing facility. It's no longer just a restaurant, okay? And that's why this crossover between commissaries, ghost kitchens, where does it all begin and end? It's different for every brand, and the brand has to define what the programs are and what the strategy is directly. Yeah. Only then can you understand the infrastructure investments that have to get made, and only then can you go into a technology selection process to be able to select the right technology to support your team. And that's a big part of it. The last thing I'll say on this is like the Uber segmentation experience. Like I remember having a conversation with Greg Dollarhide like 15 years ago. We were talking, he started Veggie Grill. Karen, you remember Veggie Grill?
Sure.
And he's like, Earl, I can't get a catering order for the life of me. Okay.
Yeah.
And I realized we came to understand that it was the veto vote. It was always like, there was always somebody in the group that says, I don't want vegetarian. So that's what, okay. So that's changing, okay, because we're now getting into marketplaces. DoorDash is doing this, where they're actually, you can order from multiple restaurants at the same time. They're going and picking everything up, assembling it to one distribution point. So that's all coming.
Yeah. Earl, thank you so much. And go ahead, Karen, please.
Sorry. Yeah, Earl, I was going to say his first thing up there is increased demand for healthy food. Look, I've been hearing it in the restaurant industry for 50 years. Restaurants sell what people will buy, right? And they get to the restaurant, the first person orders the salad, right? The second person orders that big, great burger. And the first person goes, wait, I'm just going to have a burger, right? We have been trying to sell healthy food. So I think what restaurants have probably moved towards now is better ingredients, right? Because people still go to restaurants to indulge. But so I don't really see the increased demand for healthy food. I think we will in Q1. We think catering's obviously seasonal. January 1, Diet Action Day. We know that's going to happen. But what I see the change is more requests for dietary restrictions, right? I need gluten-free, or I have somebody that's vegan, or I need vegetarian. We definitely are seeing people calling that out. In fact, working for a vegan chain, I think as we've delivered catering, we often find out is we're never the only person there, right? So we are the supplemental catering to the mainstream folks that you said, the veto vote of what they normally eat. what's surprising is they'll try it and sometimes put it out there, not saying it's vegan, and no one has any idea. So that food's come a long way.
I love that. Hey, let's go to the next slide. I just want to lay out all the different tech available in catering. There is order management, right? There's digital channels, there's payment systems, back office. There's so many different components to it. If we go on the next slide, we've laid out some of the most essential ones from marketplace, direct ordering, delivery to guest feedback. My question first for you, Tracy, as you go, my first question is, when you go talk to these brands, how much of this is laid out? Is it like half the time some of it is laid out, or is it net? Are you walking in nothing set up? Like is it a 50-50? What is it, Tracy?
Well, honestly, what we see, restaurants have a lot of tech, and they have a lot of new tech. But I think what we're seeing fairly often as we're working with brands is that the tech, it kind of gets lost in translation a bit.
Right.
And we see that there is all of this tech available and in the restaurants, but it seems like there's a gap between support and training that makes its way all the way down to the operators that need to utilize it on a regular basis. And even when we're trying to utilize some of that tech in conjunction with them while working with them, they're very overwhelmed and they don't know necessarily how to use the tech or how to use it effectively. And so they kind of get overwhelmed and don't necessarily use it to the level that they should, or use it as effectively as possible. But we see that they have most of these components included.
Got
for
it.
sure.
Yeah, Mo, go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, I think coming from a technologist, and Earl has said this many, many years, this is not a technology first decision. Okay, the fact that you want to cater or not has to be tied into your strategy and your leadership. It's an organizational commitment. Listen, before technology came along, people were doing catering. It's not like, hey, we have to cater, we need technology to do catering. You can do catering, and probably great catering, without any kind of technology. The technology should come into play to allow for your teams to get better access to information, to allow you to better execute, to see better, to be able to scale your catering business. It's an enabler to allow for that scale to happen. But it should not be your first decision shouldn't be, let's go get technology so we can cater. Is like, what does catering mean to us? What do our consumers or customers want for us? What does it mean to our brand? How do we want to represent ourselves outside of the four walls? And only if you have those decisions made and you have a good understanding, and maybe you even have tried it without technology, then you should go out there and consider, okay, what is the best solution out there that fits our needs? Every single company that's on this sheet today are adding value to their customer base and to our industry. It's not one or the other. So I think from that perspective is understand what you need first before you go out. It should not be the other way around.
I love
that you said that, Mo. Do it without it. So exactly what you need and what you need to solve for.
Yeah,
exactly.
I would say,
hey Mo, just to jump on. Sorry, Karen. I just wanted to address, because there's some brands on the call that are well advanced in their catering and they actually have tech solutions.
Right.
And so I just want to make sure we address that as well, because there's a lot of opportunity within the mature brands that I see in terms of coming back around the strategy. Okay, and that it is not status quo. In fact, the markets are shifting and changing. And there's a lot that brands can do, even in the mature brands who have been doing tens or hundreds of millions of dollars worth of catering through their systems. There's a lot that can be done strategically that's directly connected to how do you do more outreach? What are the investments you need to make in doing that? Or how do you differentiate in menu? This whole sort of battleground, if you will, between first party, third party. What does that look like? What's coming up in that space? As we know, menu parity has been a huge part of the conversation, but it's all shifting. And I think that's a great space to go into to have conversations about too.
Yeah, I was just going to add, look, I've tried it every way possible. Catering teams in every individual restaurant with the lead caterer, call centers, right? I've tried it all. And I wish you could say that there was one easy solution. I don't think that there necessarily is, but I will say the technology solution is great help. And it's no different than if you're running a casual dining restaurant and there's a few people that can run the bar, right? The bartender doesn't show up and nobody knows how to run the bar. Often even the manager's a little uncomfortable back there, right? Catering's the same way. You have a couple of people that are trained right,
Yeah.
in catering, and they don't show up. Oh my God, what do I do? Now, technology is a lifesaver because it's going to help me print my recipe. I've got everything tracked that I need. At least I've got a good foundation to make sure that I'm delivering that to the customer. Where if I was trying to rely on somebody's manual work, I could be in big trouble. So I think the blend of it really works well together. So I anybody who's considering it, I would definitely say that. The other thing that I would add, and obviously you talked about Easy Cater from the very beginning, they're kind of doing what Seamless did in New York for a long time. If you were in New York and everybody was doing individual orders, if you weren't on Seamless, you couldn't get a lot of the big companies, right? Now Easy Cater has a lot of ownership with a lot of the Fortune 100 companies, I'm guessing. So if we try to reach out to them, they'll say, "Where are you on Easy Cater?" Right? Because we have to order through Easy Cater. So I think when you think about that marketplace, to me, I'm opportunistic. I'm going to be wherever I can get these orders.
And Karen, you're 100% absolutely right. These marketplaces, we should be looking at them as not as competitors, but as a way for us to get our brand in front of customers that we cannot easily get access to. It's a new way to advertise and promote your brand. And it's a great way. And maybe you can't get that corporate catering every time directly through your first party ordering experience. But guess if whoever's in that meeting that just enjoyed that experience, that was flawlessly executed, they're going to remember your brand, and they might come inside your restaurant, or they might do social catering for a home party and then do that directly through you. So I don't think marketplaces, and I think most people that are on the call probably know that now, is that these are new marketing channels for advertising and promoting our brands, and that we can easily get access to those customers.
Agree.
Yeah. I mean, we say that all the time, even with us, where we're doing that local sales activity, that it's a beautiful complement to these marketplaces that give you amazing visibility, and to your point, get you into businesses that you normally couldn't just doing those types of activities. Great compliment.
The one thing I want to add, though, is that if you look at your catering business and it's 100% coming from third-party marketplaces, then I think you kind of have to look at yourself in the mirror and question the opportunity to grow.
Because your loyal customers want to connect with you a little bit more, like the super users. So like, let's go on the next slide. I think it's a no-brainer in terms of you should be on a marketplace day one, especially a new location, especially a brand. That's how you get to see if people even want you organically. That's how you modify your menu, modify all your placements. And I think after that, and Mo hit it right on the nail on the head, which is if you have nice traffic on third party, it is your responsibility to try to convert 10-20% of them to first party. We're doing that for Dos Toros. Dos Toros first did third party, and they said, all right, we're going to move our super users to first party. So let's stay on the tech a little bit longer, because one of the biggest challenges on the next slide, you'll see this, is how do you set up your menu, right? So Tracy, I know you're dealing with this every day, or every brand you talk to, this is the first question I'm sure they're asking you. Designing a menu to target corporate catering guests, what does it take? Is it exactly the same as setting up your like regular menu, your dinner menu and lunch menu?
Right. I say first and foremost, keep it simple. It should not be the same as your retail menu. It should be a subset of that menu. Obviously, take into consideration the food that maintains its integrity and its heat, and it travels well and can be packaged nicely. So thinking about it from that perspective. And for corporate catering functions, the folks that are placing those orders, it's a to-do item on their task list. So it's something that they have to be able to do quickly and easily. If it's something that's complicated, difficult, hard to maneuver through the menu to create a menu, they're going to choose something else. So I say keep it simple, subset of the menu, provide enough variety so that you can fill the needs and wants of many of the guests. And for me, I'm always kind of thinking about how do I get those customers to come back to me, in the business sector on an ongoing basis. And if I can provide sort of enough variety within the menu that they can have a different meal experience, that they're not eating the exact same thing each time, that allows me more opportunity to grow with that menu. Obviously, creating the menu that meets all of the needs that Karen was talking about, all of those dietary needs that are today, highlight those, make it easy for them to understand where they can pick and choose to fill those needs. And for me, I'm a big proponent of create some bundled packaged meals, especially for those office orderers. A simple package, it's a one click. I've got my main, side, dessert, drinks, easy in and out and done.
Yeah. Karen and Earl, Karen, you first maybe. Any fun menu additions we made to make catering more compelling for any of your brands? Any fun stories?
I think Tracy really hit on all of the big things. A couple things that I would probably add to that. Let me go back to my Red Robin days for one, right? And fast casual, it's just a great platform for catering, but really casual dining. I remember even working at Applebee's and someone called in and said, "Can I get a meal to go?" Now that's dating me, right? I was like, oh my God, I would never think to call a casual dining restaurant for to-go food. But then you look at like a sit-down restaurant like a Red Robin who came up with the burger bar, right? It is brilliant. You wrap your burgers or cheeseburger without any dressing in foil, right? And you sell it in increments. Okay, you need 20. I can add 5 more. I can add 5 more. It made it really easy to sell with all of the condiments on the side. You talk about customizable. It was really a brilliant idea. And then what I do think, again, from being able to transport it, right? The packaging does become pretty impressive, and expensive. I will say that. And I think that was one of the reasons too why we're happy to start to see the shift back to more buffet, or Earl, you always say platter tray, or however you would say that.
He's Canadian. He says so many different things. I don't understand.
It's so much easier than packaging everything individually. Number one, I think it does give the individuals an opportunity to customize their meal. Our temperature control is significantly better, right? And the packaging is, let's be honest, much more affordable as well. Those are some things that I would add, but I think Tracy nailed it.
Earl, we can't hear you, Earl. So sorry about that.
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Earl, we have Mo on standby to do ad libs.
Oh,
there you go.
There you go.
All right, Mo, I'm going to
Sign language.
Okay. I want to go to you, Mo, and we'll try to come back to Earl. Mo, question for you. Like we know about regular ordering versus catering ordering. Mm-hmm. What are some massive changes between the two that are happening on the admin panel that operators need access to?
Well, I think it all. I always say, actually, Earl used to say, and still does, capturing the order is the easy part. So now that you've got the order in your system, what are you going to do with it? And I think layering catering orders on top of your existing production systems and restaurant operating systems sometimes is not the right answer. So from a panel perspective, on the back end, to give your end users visibility of a large catering order, or catering order of any type, that's different from your standard orders is an absolute must. And why is that? It's not because they're bigger, but the impact that order has on the people that are going to enjoy that experience is larger. So if I screw up an order or a customer, let's say it's not even us, the customer orders the wrong thing and it's one person, that's easily solvable, right? When they come and pick it up, you can fix it. At some deliveries, a little bit harder, of course. That impact on that one individual is different. But when I have 24, 25 people that's order's been placed for, I need to look. And we always used to teach all of our operator friends and said, hey, when a catering order comes in, you want to use it as an opportunity to say, okay, how many people have they ordered it for? Did they order enough food? Did they order too much food? Aligning that's a first line of defenses, as I call it, once that order comes in. For you to look at it either at the admin central level or when even the restaurant gets it, to verify, to make sure that the customers ordered the right amount of food, and if there's any issues, deal with that at that point rather than deliver that experience only to realize that you missed something or they missed something. It might be their problem, but it's your problem to solve.
Yeah,
that's what I always say. So I don't know if that helped. Yeah, we can hear
that helped. I think that to summarize it is the job starts when the order is placed in catering, and all the ways Tracy is setting up that operations team to deploy it, move it to the right location, get it to the kitchen, the KDS system on time. There's a lot more places where you can stop or go, and you need the right tech to help you. And shameless plug, Lunchbox has thought about all of those things. Call center, if you have a sales force versus if you don't want anything, you want it directly to go to the kitchen. I'm allowed only 3 shameless plugs a webinar. All right. So I've used one up, or you wanted to say something, sir?
Yeah, I wanted to say, because Mo, to your point, and Tracy, to your point, and this is so important for operators because it's directly connected to menu. And so as you look at your menu development in the catering channel, you have to make it easy on your operations, which is why a buffet is easier or a tray is easier, because from a packaging perspective, it's not individual, it's group. Now saying that, there's some other, conversations. Let me give an example. EasyCater gives amazing data to this industry. They tell us that sandwiches are the number one selling item in catering. Okay. A hamburger is a sandwich, Karen, which is why Red Robin, right? But they couldn't figure out, how do you get a hot burger? It wasn't about a hot burger, right? It was about setting up an experience for people. Okay. Ruby Tuesday, exactly the same thing happened. When we did research, we saw the salad bar was the thing. How are you going to take the salad bar to the boardroom table? We did that. Sales went through the roof. Okay. Panda Express, another good example. Okay. Orange chicken, number one seller. Trying to articulate to an executive team that it wasn't about the current menu, that in fact a sandwich is the number one seller in catering. And Panera knows this. Subway knows this. Jason's Deli, they all know this. And so directing them into a place going, well, what does a Chinese potentially sandwich look like? Which of course is the bao. Okay. And getting them to develop a program of platters for bao. This was this was so challenging, okay, for them to intellectually connect to this idea of innovation, okay? It never happened. But anyways, these were the dreams that we sort of, the conversation.
No, hey, dream continues.
I was in that meeting.
Yeah, you remember.
I remember. I remember we're in this meeting and Earl brings up the bao idea. And the room went quiet. I'm not sure for the good reason or for the bad reason, but it was super interesting.
Ideas.
Yeah.
For example, adding a fruit platter. I mean, we know the challenges of organizations like Subway or KFC. How do they don't even have a knife in the kitchen, although now they've added slicers and they're trying. But why don't they have a knife in the kitchen? Well, if you look at the history, somebody cut their finger off many years ago and they said, get rid of the knife. So anyway, these are the operational based challenges that we have as operators at scale to figure this stuff out. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I heard Subway, and I just want everyone to know, if any football fans, I was tweeting last night at Subway and at New York Giants. If anyone is following the Tony DeVito story, his name is Tony Cutlet. So I just want them to do a collab. It's on the nose. As a former marketer, we need to make it happen. Sorry if this is too niche for the non-football fans. My apologies. On the next slide, let's talk a little bit about first party versus third party. And let's talk, we talked about it. Earl mentioned this. Mo mentioned if all your sales are coming in from third party, you're doing something wrong. Karen, I got to ask you first. You're in so many boardrooms and you've been in so many boardrooms. Is this a conversation you're actually having? Like, hey, let's move some of the third party sales to first party. Like, is the impact clear on order coming in from third party is amazing, but it's so much more profitable on a first party ordering system?
I think it's the conversation first and foremost isn't necessarily around the catering channel. It's really more around the third party delivery companies, right? Because it's now a line item on most people's P&L. So it becomes very apparent how much of your 25 to 30% of your tickets are going to the third party channels. So I think that's the first conversation that we're seeing. But as catering is starting to grow again, now you're starting to hear about that as well. I think when you're sitting there trying to think about where you spend your advertising dollars, catering typically doesn't come up first, right? I'm watching some of the different chains who talk about on really more on paid social, where I'm seeing some of the catering. You've seen a few places be bold and in the past and put it on television that they were having catering, but because I think the size of the mix for most companies, it's probably not the primary topic. But I think everybody always tries to figure out how to do that. And a lot of it to me is, when you are high, as Mo and Earl have taught me, if you are really high percentage of your orders are coming in from a third party platform, you really don't have the relationships, right? And I think we made some mistakes thinking we're urban. We can't get into offices anymore, right? Because of everything's kind of shut down now. You used to be able to go in, hop on an elevator, jump off. I did it myself so many years, right? Of dropping little things off for different administrative assistants. You just don't have the access anymore. So I think we kind of use that as an excuse. And I think Tracy got me thinking about, well, you got to drop that and you got to get back there and build those relationships, because it is definitely more profitable to get it first party.
Tracy, you got called a couple of times by Karen, so I have to pass it to you, which is this first-party Salesforce and third-party Salesforce. There's third-party Salesforce, which is easy catering, all these amazing companies doing it for you. But a lot of brands are not, they don't have their own catering managers. Maybe they just do fulfillment and post-ordering. But what about actually generating sales, building relationships with real estate buildings and others? When do you make that investment? Is that a restaurant number of restaurant count? Is that a volume count? When do we have that conversation?
We have that conversation with everybody, whether it's a one unit mom and pop restaurant to the enterprise brands. And we're having those conversations today. But I'm in full alignment with everybody that there's room for everybody at the table, and it's a good marriage to utilize all of those components. But I'm old school, along with Mo and Earl, in the thinking that catering is about relationships, and people are, I think, game to try lots of new places once or twice. But I think for the long term, folks are going to order consistently with people they know, they like, and who they trust, and that takes time and relationships. And yes, I think really everybody that we talk to, they're desperate for sales, and everyone wants to double down on catering now, but most don't have the resources. They don't have the people to go do it, and hiring somebody full time is expensive. So it's like figuring out other ways to do it. And Karen, to your point, you can't just walk into buildings anymore. You have to be creative and do things virtually. But I think it's very important, because then it allows you to own those relations, to nurture those, to have those long-term, year after year revenue potential with those. And then the referrals start happening, and it's much more profitable to do that way. But it's just a way for you to also just get ingrained in your community. And that's good for your business as a whole, not just for catering.
Yeah.
So I think the combination of the two is absolutely necessary.
It's amazing the amount of pressure you see on administrative assistants when they're ordering for an important meeting, right? Yeah. And I can assure you that most of them will not chance making an order with somewhere they don't know that they can call. Number one, to me, the biggest variable is you better be on time. Yeah. And that is so huge. And they need someone to pick up the phone, and you got to make them look good, right? Because they're important to us, and we want to make sure that people know they made the right choice when they selected us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go to the next slide. I think this is going to be fun for our audience members. We have people from Sweet Green, people from Subway. We have some incredible people in the audience. So guys, we got to share some stories, some war stories, some successful stories on how we have seen a growth channel really help a brand or a restaurant. Or I feel like you have a million of these. I'll let you go first. But something you or a brand out there tried, really helped as a channel, a campaign, wherever you want to go.
Yeah, well, I can only think back through my experience, Nabil, and the truth is, like, there's a handful. I mean, there's early brands that have been doing catering for many years in a multi-unit restaurant environment it's core to their DNA, and we know who they are. Jason's Deli is a good example of that. Panera's deep in. I remember when Jim Wren started catering in the early days. Mo, we were there. And they became sort of the first restaurant brand to cross over. I think it was $1 billion worth of catering sales. Wow. And just became a juggernaut. Like, how did they do that? And they did it. And Tracy, you remember at one point, I think in the peak, I don't know if they still do, but they had 100 salespeople on the street. Wow. You remember, Tracy? This is like all before marketplaces, right?
Yep.
And this is where the marketplaces figured it out, and the restaurant industry fell asleep. We were so busy running our restaurants and looking after our customers coming in the front door, we didn't pay attention to this whole thing. And the marketplaces understood that if they come in, I mean, look, raise a lot of money, SEO, go at brands, hire salespeople, answer your telephones, make sure deliveries get there. And then all of a sudden you're filling all the gaps that restaurants were not doing well. And then guess what happened? Customers went there, because they created a frictionless, seamless type environment and built the relationships. And this is the wake-up call, and this is what brands are understanding. And any restaurant, whether you have one or whether you have many, it's a lot of work. You have to get back into your communities. You have to knock on doors. You got to get to know people. You got to invite them over. It's like it's grassroots. You got to go back into your communities. Okay. Yeah. That's where the money is. Okay. That's where it is. And this is why Byron and Tracy, for example, are blossoming in this space. Why? Because Well, people don't want to invest. It's hard to find good people. And so you have specialists that are popping up in this process. And so every brand has to stop. You've got to tap into what do we do ourselves? What do we partner on? You got to look at your margins, look at your menus. You got to put your gates up. You got to put your defenses up, and you got to be able to convert your first party transactions, which are a better margin business. That's the game now. Okay.
Earl, I can hear the passion in your voice, and what I can also hear is like, guys, this is a low-hanging fruit. This is a great way for everyone to go ahead and increase some significant revenue in your business. Everything has plateaued. This is where you can really go double down. So I can hear that passion in your voice. So thank you for sharing some of that. Karen, Mo, or Tracy, anyone else?
I was going to say, since you mentioned Sweet Green, their outpost was brilliant. It's really brilliant. I think every time I walk into Chase Bank and I see all those salads sitting there, I'm like, oh, that was brilliant. Another place that I'm starting to see some growth, and I'm on a university board, but one of our campuses doesn't have food service, right? And when the students are there, to be able to get in and have a table out there or a food truck or whatever to cater to the students has been really successful. Same way a lot of the office buildings downtown no longer have their food services operating, and they're willing to go on a rotation with you on a weekly basis to go in there and bring your food in. So you've got to look for those type of opportunities.
Yeah. And Karen, we were talking about this the other day, right? Like, it's hard to access buildings now. So like, it's time to get really creative. You got to go talk to the landlords. You got to talk to the people that own buildings and explain to them that you're trying to add value-added services to their tenants. And these are and then try and get in through those relationships. That's
people are still answering the phones.
Oh, I thought the building access thing was just a me problem, but it seems like all of us are facing the same. I thought it was. I was personalizing that one. You mentioned campuses. We are doing something really exciting with Aramark and Nike, where they have a bunch of restaurants on the campus. We're putting it all on one phone. That's a form of catering, a form of corporate catering that we are investing in. So it's really exciting. All the different iterations of catering, the outpost that you mentioned, what we're doing with Aramark, and just everything else is happening. It's not just put it on your website and it will happen. You have to dig deeper. Is all I keep on hearing from everyone here.
Yeah. And Michael Stansfield just posted an excellent point. Look at hotels without F&B. There's lots of them. And they need services. Yeah, excellent point, Mark.
Yeah, let's jump on the next slide. I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit about everyone's favorite topic, everyone's three favorite word, letter acronym, leveraging the sales tools in the admin panel, the CRM, if you will. One of the things I've seen between the catering side and the ordering side is they don't work together. They're two different companies. They're two different loyalty systems. They're two different databases. Here at Lunchbox, we've combined it into one, right? But forget about just combining into one. What are the campaigns one would do, Tracy, after you have all this data centralized into your CRM? What are brands asking you to do, or what are you doing with brands to do exactly what Earl mentioned, which is build relationships, right? Like, get them back and remind them that you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, our goal is to really get ingrained in the local communities. We're doing things virtually. It's phone calls, it's emails, it's setting up sampling drops that the operators then take so that they can start to meet some of the businesses and really provide ongoing sales activities that take time. These are things that need to be nurtured and for them to build up some trust. So our job is really to go after those new business opportunities, but we're also very big proponents in you need to leverage those customers that you already have. And I've always taught that that's the easiest and quickest way to close another order is to capitalize on your current customers that you have, and utilizing a CRM and utilizing the data that you have. If you have a sales team, there's lots of activities that can be done by them. But for a lot of our operators, even as we're bringing sales to them, we're reiterating the need to continue to build on that relationship. And there's simple things that operators can do with the information that they have, and it's about building that relationship. It's simple things, a quick, call to confirm an order. If anything goes awry, be proactive in your communication. For me, follow-up is everything.
Yeah.
Calling customers after a catering order. I always say there's no better time to ask somebody for the next order when they've just had an amazing experience with you. And then on the flip side, if something went poorly, that quick outreach allows you to rectify that situation, save that customer. And a lot of times if you right a wrong, they're even more loyal to you. But utilizing the data that you have and the information that you have just to continue to build on those relationships is key. I've always said it's never about one order. It's about the long-term lifetime revenue potential you have with these catering customers. And that's about that relationship and utilizing those tools.
Just to add a couple points here, and we were seeing this pattern, 80% of your orders, we were saying 80% of orders coming from 20% of your customers, okay?
Yeah.
Give or take. So the investment that you make in understanding your existing customers and the value and increasing that 20% by 1 or 2, 3% will have a tremendous amount of impact in your growth, okay? I'm not talking about going and chasing new sales. I'm saying you already have these customers in your database. Spending more time and understanding their likes and dislikes and following up and reaching out and developing those relationships will naturally elevate and increase your sales with the existing customers that you have, which is why having a centralized database, Nabil, as you highlighted, it's super, super important in understanding those customers, what they do, when they do it, what they like and what they don't like. So that is just to complement what Tracy was saying, is that spending time on your existing customers, understanding that behavior is critical in driving sales, more sales.
Yeah. I mean, who better to convert to a catering customer than your small batch customers, right? Your $50 order, convert them to catering and vice versa. It's like what we've done our entire life in hospitality. Take your lunch customer, convert them to dinner, and the opposite, or the next iteration,
Right.
take your dine-in customer, convert them to delivery, right? And it's just like, again, the 80-20 rule. Like, there's so much revenue with our existing loyal customer base. We just have to listen to them, connect with them, and I am so grateful for the conversation we've all had. I would love to do a round robin of your favorite takeaway, like not takeaway as in like takeout food, your favorite takeaway from the webinar, and if it was your birthday, what are we catering? What are we catering? I'm obviously there, right? I'm invited. What are we catering, guys? Like, favorite takeaway, and what are we catering for our birthdays? Let's do a quick round robin, and we'll take questions from the audience right after that. Karen, you want to go first? I feel like you're ready.
I can, sure. Hey, we're always ready. You're going to be all, gosh, okay. Catering would probably be some simple, fresh pasta dish.
Okay.
So I'm always up for Italian and a great glass of red wine to go with that. Now that a lot of states allow alcohol, right? So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Key takeaways. Look, like I said, I think I've made a lot of mistakes over the years in catering, and where I look to technology to be a good solution to solve all of my problems, I have missed the relationship piece. And I just want to go back to saying that one more time. Having someone that you can count on makes all the difference. That I know that order is going to be right and on time.
Who wants to go next, Mo?
Sure. I'm going to blow your guys' minds. For my birthday, ham and pineapple pizza.
What?
Is that a Canadian thing?
What?
I think it's a Canadian thing, right?
How do I don't even know how do I mute him? How do I
No, of all the meals we've had, I'm
Oh
so
my
surprised.
God.
is it a
freaking good.
Canadian thing? Is it
I don't know,
just
but
you?
I think it's a big secret. I was at a party and I said ham and pineapple pizza, and there was at least 6 other people said yes, me too. Anyway, key takeaway. I think we've said this over and over, and the point that I like to hit again is that catering is a relationship-driven experience. It's not about the transaction. The transaction is an outcome of the relationship and the experience that you develop with that customer. So focus on that relationship, focus on that information, and serve to those needs. And you don't need any technology to do that, but that's the key takeaway for me.
Love that. Tracy.
I think I'm having my birthday dinner with Karen. I would have said the exact same thing, honestly.
I'm going to that party too. Between Mo's and Karen's, she has booze.
I'm in May, Karen. You can come hang out with me on my birthday, and I'll come and hang out with you.
Ham and pineapple with some red wine is a delicious combination.
I have had ham and pineapple pizza, and I don't hate it. So I would celebrate anything with you.
Agree.
Key takeaways. One, I have to say that you guys have made my heart so happy because I have been on my soapbox talking about the relationship piece with catering for 25 years. So that makes me happy. And the other is really that catering is just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. This is going to be a huge game player for the long term. And there's just going to be an ever evolving solution set, which is really exciting. There's going to constantly be new things that are going to be put in place to help us grow this business. And that's very exciting.
Love it. I'll go, then I'll let Earl wrap us up. I feel like he's going to say something profound. If not, then the pressure is on. For my birthday, I will be getting pizza. Pizza's great. Everyone can eat pizza or some New York slice. Maybe there's a place in New York I love, Joe's Pizza. So I'll do that. Maybe we have some leftover booze from Karen's birthday. That way I can save some money. I think my key takeaway is like we're at such early stages of this. We all can really make an impact for our businesses. We all can really go ahead and drive some revenue here for our businesses. So I just hope people who have all the tech ready know that we're still in the beginning of this. There's so much opportunity here. That's what I'm hearing from everyone here, from all our leaders here. With that, I'm going to give it to Earl.
Thanks, Bill. Catering, Tony's Deli, turkey pesto would be great right about now. It's in the archives, long gone. I want to say this. I come across operators every single day. And Bill, I'm working at Lunchbox now. I spent time in Monkey. I like thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of restaurants. And I see pockets of operators where catering represents 35, 40% of their revenue in that store.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that's location dependent. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Certainly not every restaurant can do that kind of number.
Right.
But somewhere between where you are now and 40 is doable. So if you benchmark yourself, if you're sitting here at 8% of overall sales, you have an incredible opportunity. So study those brands, study those operators. What are they doing to get those kind of volumes? And what you will see is you will see a lot of what we're talking about here, which is why they're getting such results.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, Earl, thank you. Everyone here, thank you. We're going to do a couple of Q&A and we'll wrap it up. First one is, how should we think about incorporating loyalty in catering? We know it's part of regular ordering, right? Spend 100, get 10 back, tier system, other systems out there for loyalty. How should we think about loyalty in catering? Earl, maybe you can take that one.
Yeah, this one is very close to me, Nabil. We've been having this conversation for a long time, and nobody's really attacked it. Easy Cater's done a great job with their loyalty program, and I think as we head into this world of B2B, it's important to understand the triggers and the leverages. It's not about necessarily a free sandwich or a free soft drink, but it might be about a $50 Visa card, or it could be about here's an iTunes card, or it might be about here's some Cineplex Odeon tickets for you. This is kind of the world. Think more around like airlines or that kind of thing, credit card loyalty points, that kind of stuff. Nobody has gone there yet, but I think that is where we need to go, in my opinion.
This one is a great question. What should your ideal catering food cost percentage be? Anyone here? I'm sure everyone has the answer here or some thoughts here. Ideal food cost for catering.
I think look at the overall margin mix. I think ultimately, Nabil, you'll find that catering should be a higher margin. If it's not, you probably have to push your prices up. But I think ultimately it really depends on getting the right volumes coming through your restaurants to drive the labor down. So a healthy margin for catering, you should be running 40 to 45 points for sure.
Yeah, that's all in. From a food cost perspective, I'd say that 25 to 29%. Typically, it might pop up a little bit because it's still harder for us to get the drink orders. And sometimes the drink orders bring those percentages down.
Okay, awesome. I love that. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Earl. Question about personalization in catering. A big part of catering is, can we feed everyone and can we feed all different dietary groups? How should restaurants think about personalization? Should they keep it simple or should they make it easy to modify things?
You can't be in the business today without being able to customize. It's been part of our business, for 40 years or so. The guest gets what they want, period.
Yeah, saying that, Nabil, it's within the context. So like if somebody wants something no cheese, you can handle it as a note or a modifier. But if somebody wants mashed potato and champagne glasses and you don't do that, that's
don't do that.
That's custom catering. You laugh about you laugh.
What you're saying.
Yeah.
You laugh.
Yeah,
but remember we were in the KFC franchise system many years ago, and there was a franchisee doing Italian food and spaghetti out the back door before virtual brands, and they weren't allowed. But that's what was happening. So
yeah, it's got to be within the context of your menu, some modifications and adjustments, again, the big question is how far do you push it and how far do you go? Because if you push it too far, then you're back into individual orders, customizing on a per item. And I know Earl, our experience, people that were ordering, they were sold for like 90% or 95%. And then the one or two people that had special requirements or wanted something completely custom, then there's sort of the restaurant menu, I should say, was available for them to be able to order those in conjunction with the catering experience. So you just got to manage it in a way, because you can't do custom burgers for 30 people. Now, having said that, the burger bar is a perfect solve for that, because then they customize it as they like at the time of the event. So
correct.
It's just got to be a happy medium between sales and ops. So you can't kill the kitchen, but you want to give the perception that, you know, the customers are able to do some of the customization. You've just got to limit it to a certain extent.
Or you don't call that out in your marketing necessarily. You show your product as is. These operators or marketing decides to get clever. We never appreciate the fact that we're going to make every item their way, right? So
right.
Yeah. Last question. This one seems planted. How do I get to learn more about Lunchbox? Who put that in there? I think I put that in there myself. That's what happens when you're the admin.
That was your last plug, right?
That was my last plug. I got it for free. And guys, go to our website, sign up. Email me, Nabil, Nabeel @lunchbox.io. Earl's phone number, I'll put in the chat. But my phone number is 646-867-5395. We are here to chat. We help restaurants like Firehouse Subs, 1,000+ locations, Chopped, Dos Toros, and all these incredible brands we're trying to figure this out together. We don't have a answer. We have some great tech, but more than anything else, we have folks like Karen on our board, Mo, and Earl, who's helping us really build this amazing revenue channel. So let's chat. And if we can't give you tech, what we'll do is we'll invite you to the birthday parties. But thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Karen, Mo, Tracy, Earl. What a wonderful webinar. What a great way to end the year. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I really appreciate you all. Thank you, everyone, for joining.